Hello and welcome. I am hoping that today is going to be the day I crack these beds, get up the greenhouse that's going here, and then hopefully fill the beds with compost and plant things in them. Whether that will happen or not, I don't know. But I came down earlier today and these beds were all very, very weedy. They really needed a good sorting out. This bed, I needed to fix this middle bit because that was still in pieces, which I've done all of them, and I would have shown you guys, but I forgot my tripod. So I just got on and got the jobs done, and I thought, oh, I'll take some photos and show you. So we're now in a position where I'm going to put bark around the outside of the frames and in this middle bit too, because I'm hoping that it'll serve two functions really. One will be ever so slightly to raise the height of the greenhouse and keep it off the ground, and although the bark will get wet, I'm hoping that the wet will drain through so it won't be sitting on, the wet ground for that long. But also this patch here is going to be really hard to weed when I've got two greenhouse frames up with netting on, to keep the brassicas out. And I was thinking, how am I going to stop any weeds coming through? So I thought if I put a really good amount of mulch in the form of wood chippings or decorative bark in this case down the middle, then hopefully that will stop me from having to weed down the middle, and it'll save me one job at least. So let's get that bark down. Right, hopefully that'll be enough bark for the time being. I did start the job with those two small bags and then realised that I didn't have nowhere near enough bark, so I've gone and got the bark now and I've laid it out. I still need to get at least another bag, but I should have enough to rest the greenhouse on this spit here. So without further ado, let me go and get the greenhouse bits and see if I can assemble them by myself. Okay, well, this is going to be a bit of a guessing game because I didn't take it apart, so only just fits, which is interesting, isn't it, since I measured it and everything. So the good news is I've worked out how to put the corners together. The bad news is I think I'm going to have to cut a bit of this wood down. I think it's just slightly too wide to fit, but I'll crack on and get the corners in place and then we'll see from there. So this track has got these two lines in here, and it seems like you just slot the bolts into those two lines, and the same with the bottom one. And then they're a bit hard to slide along because there's quite a bit of soil in the grooves. And then, as best you can, you need to line it up with my just want to knock it on a bit like that, and then you line it up with that one, and the same with the bottom one. But it has been slightly bent. Maybe it's not in the right place. There we go. It took a while, but it's pulling in now. I just want to get them hand tight at the moment, so I can work out whether they'll all fit in. Oh, just this last side to do now. And I think I won't have to take the bed apart and recut the sides, but I'll show you that when it's all in place now. So you see that slides along, so in theory that could go like that, couldn't it? And it could sit flush there, or it could sit flush there. I'm not quite sure which way it goes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I need to slide these along to make a square as such, like that. So I was just trying to work out where the pieces all went, and I still can't find one bit for the base at the back. But when I was putting the pieces in, I was thinking they're not lining up. And the chap I had the greenhouse off, very kindly wrote front top on that one. So I know that one is the top, but of course I've put the frame the wrong way around, haven't I? So I need to turn it around. Seamless. This corner's just a bit out now, so I better put that back. So I had to stop doing what I was doing last night because I was losing the light, and I couldn't find a piece that I really needed, and I was getting a bit anxious, and I was getting a bit frustrated with putting all of this together as well, because it's not really my sort of thing. I love doing jigsaw puzzles, and it is kind of like a 3D jigsaw puzzle, but for some reason I'm just not loving this job at all. But let me show you, because I come down this morning to see if that piece was here, because it was really annoying me, and I couldn't sleep last night. I kept dreaming about this missing piece. So I'll show you the piece I found and why I couldn't find it. So this bit that's lying here is the back frame, and all the other ones that I had a bar across there. You can see here on this one, it's got a bar attached there, and then on that one there, it's got a bar attached there as well, and that one, but this one didn't. So I was looking at all the pieces that were over there. If my camera turn, there we are. So there's some pieces over there, and I was looking at them, and I just could not work out which piece was to go along the back there, because I was looking for one like that really. And then when I came down this morning and looked at these ones here, I thought, oh well, maybe it's not a thick one like the front one, because it doesn't need the runner for the door. So I thought, oh, maybe it is a thin piece. And then when I was having a look, what had happened, so this is the piece that I found, and it does fit because I've lined up the holes there, and they go in the right places. But what had happened was this bit had bent up and it was at a right angle. So I just thought that it was like a piece for the roof or something. But I'm really glad I found that piece now, because it was really annoying me, and I was thinking, what am I going to do if I haven't got this piece? How am I going to fix it all together? I haven't got time to fix it together this morning. I've got to rush off. But knowing now that I have got that piece has put my mind at rest. So the next opportunity I'll get will get that Brassica cage up and running. I'm going to head home now and make a ratatouille, because I'm not feeling very well and I want something that's going to be super healthy. So I just want to pick up some courgettes before I go, and hopefully then later in the week I can come back and sort out that Brassica cage, because now I've made a start, I really want to get it up. At least if it's just up in place, then that's something, isn't it? That's a bit of progress. So let me just show you the courgettes and the tomatoes that I'm going to harvest. Here's the yellow courgettes. I'm surprised actually. I'm glad that we've got something here, because the last few courgettes I harvested were massive ones. I just hadn't got down here in time to harvest them. And sometimes when the plants produce really big ones like that, then they sort of stop producing anymore. So I'm glad they've produced them, because I need some courgettes. And then there's a few ripened tomatoes on here ready for picking as well. But I did do a massive harvest when I was down here last week getting rid of the sweet corn. So let me show you the harvest from then, and then join me in the kitchen while I make this ratatouille. Here is the harvest from this week. This is mostly the allotment harvest. So loads of tomatoes. Some of them are not ripe. The ones that are not ripe I'll just leave on a windowsill. But I have found it always better to pick every tomato that is ripening until you get down to ones that haven't even started ripening yet, and then the plant ripens them quicker than if you left one half ripe on the plant. That's what I've always thought anyway. And then there's more beetroot from the allotment. There's the carrots. This variety is Little Finger, and as you can see they are sort of skinny fingers, aren't they? This is the last of the sweet corn, and this is from the early bird patch, which I wasn't very impressed with. And then these are green beans from our garden at home, but I've just put them in there because it's a lovely splash of colour to have some green, isn't it? And actually they wouldn't fit in the home harvest basket anyway. So we've got more aubergines. I've just stabbed myself with this aubergine. There's these nasty little prickles at the top of these aubergine. So we've got 4 aubergines, well 5 with a different variety one, and then got some patchwork peppers, 2 yellow peppers, 3 yellow peppers again. I think this variety is gringo, possibly. Twingo. And then 2 cucumbers. This one is a bit strange. It's sort of like a bit ridged, I suppose. But the ones that have been like strange shapes have actually been delicious. That's what we found this year. And then a collection from the home garden and the greenhouse. And so back to the ratatouille and the small harvest I had from the allotment this morning. Here are all the ingredients for the ratatouille. Here's the courgettes I picked, and then the tomatoes from this morning. I'm just going to add the courgettes to the ingredients. So we've got 2 homegrown courgettes, a handful of homegrown tomatoes, rosemary from the garden, thyme, which I did buy, 2 onions, 2 aubergines, 2 peppers, a handful of garlic, homemade passata, a tin of chopped tomatoes, olive oil and balsamic. So I'm just going to cook everything in my slow cooker. I'm going to chop everything up, just add it all in, and then leave it on high heat for 3.5 hours or so. And here's the mix all ready for cooking. Slow cook, high, well I suppose it's more soup, isn't it? High, and for 3.5 hours. There we go. The job I really want to get done now is to pull out all my main crop potatoes from here. So I've got 2 types. I've got Desiree and I can't remember what the other type is, but it's this one here. I think it's Cara, but we'll find out when I unearth them whether they look like Cara or not. There's lots of weeds here, and I'm in a bit of a quandary as to whether, basically, I've got the brassicas that need to go in the brassica cage at the allotment. They've been in their modules now for, I'd probably say, a week more than I would want. So if I don't get the brassica cage done this weekend, basically I'm going to plant the brassicas in here. If I do get those brassicas done this weekend, that cage up and done, I will be doing a mighty jig because I'll be so happy, but also it means I can use these beds for mustards and lettuce and things like that I want to grow a bit closer to home. But anyway, I'm waffling now. Let's get these potatoes up. I'm not going to do a potato reveal as such. I'll just show you what I've got at the end. So here is the harvest of my main crop. It's very, very disappointing. My first earlies and second earlies were infinitely better than this, and I think I know where I've gone wrong with these, and it's actually a combination of maybe 3 or 4 things. I think I bought the seed potatoes fairly late in the season because I was planning to grow my own, and when I unearthed them from the cardboard bags that I have kept them in, they were all wrinkled and shriveled and not very good. So by the time I then went to buy some seed potatoes, there wasn't that great a variety left in the garden centre. Then I didn't plant them straight away either. I left them on my windowsills to chit, and I think I left them too long, and a few of the seed potatoes had shriveled up. But I planted them anyway, thinking, yes, why not plant them anyway? And then I didn't water them enough. I know I didn't water them enough because on previous years, you can see the water pipe that runs down here, the soaker hose. Last year and the year before, and whenever I've grown in this garden, it was all connected to my water irrigation system that I had running here and into my veg beds there. So they got watered once a day, last year and the year before. But because I hadn't connected up the irrigation system, because I hadn't sorted it out, I just forgot to water them here. So they didn't get much water. Not forgot to water, but I think I just thought, oh, they'd be all right. They're mostly in the shade, but they weren't all right. They needed more water. And I think also when I planted them, I had run out of potato and vegetable fertiliser that I specifically use on potatoes. And I think I put in some fish blood and bone instead. And I don't think it's been as strong as using potato fertiliser. So, lots of lessons to be learned from me here. So don't do that yourselves if you're going to plant any next year. But like I said, the ones that were in the front garden did well because I was manually watering the front garden. So I know they got enough water. But, that's it, isn't it? That's life. I've learned. I'll try and do better next year. We'll eat up what we've got here, and then I'll buy some potatoes over winter. This harvest in this one here, we do have some different colours, and I think that's because I had some volunteer Cara potatoes in this bed from last year, and then these are the Desiree that I planted this year. So a very, very mixed bag, but we've got something, and it's been a great year for tomatoes, so sometimes potatoes suffer, sometimes potatoes do really well, and sometimes other things do better depending on the year and the heat. So we will rejoice in the tomatoes and buy some potatoes come the winter. The stew is all done now, so it's time for the taste test. This is mostly with my own homegrown products, so let's hope it tastes nice. Had 2 bits of aubergine then. I think I got pepper now. Oh, it's quite, when I tasted it halfway through, it tasted like tomato soup with bits in it. But that bit of pepper I just had made it a bit more sweet and sourish, like like sweet and sour sauce that you get with sweet and sour chicken. Oh, let's have another try. Yeah, that's much nicer than just a tomato-based recipe. I look forward to this. I'll probably take this into work with me and have it for my lunch, which will be in the middle of the night, but still. I'll have one more little taste. Oh, yeah. That's much nicer than I thought it was going to be, actually. I thought it was going to be like tomato soup. And I don't really like tomato soup. I find it gives me a funny like feeling at the back of my mouth there. I think it's the acid of the tomatoes. I love tomatoes and tomato pasta sauce and things, but for some reason tomato soup just makes me go like... So I'm really pleased to report this isn't just tomato soup. It's really good. It's really good. Something else to do with those aubergines that I've grown this year. So that's great. Right, let's go find something else to do. I am surrounded by weeds. There's nothing but weeds. Anyway, my next job is to sort out this hot bin composter, because I filled it like last year-ish, and you should really add to it all, all the time, but I kind of forget. But also because I've got the other compost bins around the back, I tend to use the house waste and things in those compost bins. However, those compost bins need a drastic sort out as well. So I thought, we'd unearth what is in here. I'll put them into some pots ready to go down to the allotment, so that hopefully if I get around to doing that brassica cage, then I can fill that brassica cage, the bed up, and then I can top dress it with the compost from in here. So without further ado, let's see what's in here. A lot of snails. The compost has gone really quite low, so I won't be getting much out of here. But anything is always better than nothing, isn't it? So I'll open up this door and scoop out the compost that's ready for use. So as I suspected, not a great amount of compost. That's a 30-litre bucket, so 30 litres of compost. But 30 litres of compost is about a bag, isn't it? A small bag. So save myself a bit of money. I'm going to get this up and running again now. So I've been keeping the lawn clippings from when I mowed the lawn. So I'll be putting some lawn clippings in with some shredded paper, a little bit of wood chip, but I haven't got that much, so it'll only be a little bit. And then if we've got any peelings and things from the house, they will go in as well. And essentially, I want to fill it at least up to about here, because if I don't fill it up to about here, it doesn't really start to activate. But it's a really sunny day today, and it's meant to be sunny for the next few days. So hopefully the activation will start. Oh, everywhere I look at the moment, there's something to do. However, let's just deal with one thing at a time. So I'm popping in some grass clippings, freshly cut yesterday. They're a bit whiffy already. They've already started to decompose. One of the reasons I'm doing this now is because I've got the grass clippings and I don't think they're going to be available for much longer going into the winter. So I thought, well, I better get on with it now. Just a few wood chips going in, and then the shredded paper. And I'll just go and get some more grass clippings and repeat the process over and over until I've got rid of all the grass clippings. And then I'll show you what we've got when I'm done. So here's the bin. All the bits are now mixed together. It did fill it up to the top, so that's really good. But if I show you within a week now, it'll all have dropped a considerable amount, and we'll be able to put more in there over the winter. So that's another job Done, thank goodness. Let me show you the compost heaps around the back, and then I can explain to you why I needed to get this one up and running again. Here are my compost heaps that are just at the back of my garden. There is my garden fence, and I've just cheekily put them in the farmer's field essentially, but he doesn't come up this way, you know, the field is like ends over there, so I figured he wouldn't mind me, you know, using this little space for composting. So the second bay here is the one that's been dormant the longest. This, I should have harvested the compost from here in springtime, but I just didn't get around to it because I was busy with the allotment and getting that up and going. So hopefully we've got a lot of compost here to harvest. In here I've got ferns growing, I've got a squash that has grown from just dormant seed that's in, well, not dormant obviously, but seed that I didn't plan to grow here. And I've also got potatoes in here, so when I harvest these I expect I'll find a few potatoes that should be fine to eat. Similarly, this third bin here has also been left to go dormant and just decompose slowly by itself, but it's not as old as this one, so I might need to skim off the top level of that one and add it to this first bin, which is my current bin where everything is going at the moment. But as you can see, that bin now is getting pretty full. So I won't do this today, but when I get a chance, I'll harvest what is in this bin. Then I'll turn this bin into this bin. I'll harvest what I can in that bin, turn whatever hasn't decomposed into this bin, and then that bin will be empty and I'm going to fill it with some fresh horse manure, and that can then just rot down over the winter, and we can either then use it come the spring, although it will only be 6 months rotted rather than a year, but we'll see what condition that is in, and I will keep adding to that bin because the level will drop, and then when I feel like it's, you know, full enough, I'll just put a cover over it and let that just rot down over the winter. So there is a method here. It's one of those jobs that you just don't get around to doing as often as you should, but hopefully I'll get the allotment done soon, and then these jobs, you know, will take precedence. It's been about 2.5 days since I set up the hot bin composter, so let me show you what's going on in there now. Let's check the temperature on here. It's 50°C or 120°C, and then if I lift this up, I don't know, can you see the steam coming off it? I hope that camera's picking this up. And then if I go closer in, I have added more. You can see that it is definitely shrunk because it was full up to the top. It's definitely shrunk, and I have added more strawberry leaves from when I cut the strawberry. Oh, it's really warm in here. It's quite nice because my hands are cold, the weather's turned. So I've got strawberry leaves in there and some more paper, shredded paper. So that is definitely working now, which is really great. It means I can keep adding the household waste into there, and whatever bits like the dahlia clippings and things like that that I'll be, you know, cutting away soon. The tayberries, they need cutting away. They can all go in there and hopefully just decompose down. And I will also add some to the back compost bins when I sort them out. But let's go back down the allotment and see if I've progressed with that brassica cage. And here we are, the frame is up. We have made some progress at last. Me and my husband came down here the other day and we made a start at putting this frame together. I did do a time lapse of it, but I think we were doing it for about an hour and a half, and the camera ran out. So really annoyingly, we couldn't quite finish the time lapse, but it is mostly done. It's just the bits that come down the roof now just needed doing, because the screws that we were, well, not screws, but the nuts and bolts we were using were a bit rusty. So I've got fresh ones to do those ones. We did have some issues with the frame. Remember when I was putting the frame together and I couldn't work out if the frame needed to be at a right angle or if it needed to be at that funny sort of cross section, and I put them at a right angle. Of course it needed to be the other way around. So for ages we couldn't work out why these sides, like the very end bits, weren't fitting on the frame, until I remembered that maybe I needed to pull the frame apart slightly. So lesson learned there. If only I'd taken this down, I would know how it went back together. But anyway, it is done now. So next time I shall be putting the net on and hopefully getting the brassicas in there. So that's it from me for today. All I can say about the job is lovely job, and take care everybody.